Evening all. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Greetings. Premjith M. It's chatting via YouTube. How you going, mate? So, before we begin, how about we do the usual, hey, is the music too loud? And if it is, I can wind it back just a little bit. So, speak now or forever hold your peace. Hey, Stealth. I will answer that question very shortly, my friend. Okay. Slightly too loud, and I'm a little quiet, too high. Touch high. Okay, alrighty. Winding the desktop audio back just a little bit. How's that? How is that? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Now it's gone. Okay, gone is bad. How about there? We want something. We can hear you. Turn the music. Shut it, Peleus, you jerk. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that for now, and I'll just continue to talk as per usual. And if it becomes a problem, mic's muted. No, the mic is definitely not muted. It shouldn't be. Maybe I'll just, yeah, it should be fine. Let me maybe adjust. How about that? Is that a bit better? It's always so hard, particularly given that, you know, we're streaming to a few different platforms at the same time. It's just kind of hard to know. So I'm going to carry on. Hopefully you guys can hear a little bit of music in the background. If not, just let me know, because I'd still like having that little bit of backing is pretty cool. Okay, now I should probably flick over to, hang on, something, where are we? Change scenes. Good evening. Good evening. Can't hear any music, but the voice level's good. Okay, so let me bump that up just a little then, because I do want that little bit of backing. It's really quiet at the moment, so there it is. Greetings, RemZ1. How you going? Hey, we're actually doing a hacking stream. I should. Doesn't work, does it? How do people hack with hoodies on, man? Like, seriously. I can't hack with hoodies on. But I can't hack without tea, because hacking without tea is very uncivilized. Okay, so let's get on with it. I thought I'd start by showing you this selection of browser windows. First of all, as per usual, big shout out to Guy Baroni, who allows me to stream his music for freebies so long as I give him a shout out, so I have permission to do so. I love his music. Hey, it's pretty damn awesome. So that's this is this dude here on Zelept, Guy Baroni. Go and listen to his stuff because it's really cool. That's what we're listening to throughout this stream. I know, Ozjock, absolutely banger. Hey, Puffin Fresh. Wow, that's a name I haven't seen for a little while. How you going, man? So for those people who don't know, Puffin is an Aussie boy, although I don't know where he's based at the moment. But he and I connected years ago via the functional programming circles in Brisbane. So yeah, it's nice to see your face in here, buddy. Okay, this middle browser here is, this is the tea that I'm currently drinking. It's not the cheapest tea on the planet, but it is the biz. So as much as I hate to admit it, Ozjock is the guy who got me onto it. Oh, it's just so good. There we go, bring on the Lambda symbols. So if you haven't tried this Gyokuro, highly recommended, particularly for the green tea lovers. And then out here on the right, you know, you can't go past this stuff. If you can get up to the 99%, this is good stuff. Green tea, hacking, and decent chocolate for the win. Gotta have dark chocolate. Yeah, exactly. T2 is great. Love rating supply when I say hotels. That's so true. So there you go. They're the three things that are going to keep us sustained throughout this evening. So let's. No, I wanted to start a little bit with some non-hacking related stuff, just to make this a little bit more human. But I tweeted this earlier, and I also posted it on Mastodon because I like the idea of Mastodon, even if there's not many people over there. And what I did was I tweeted this, and there's a little message in here for a group of friends who are at a gathering. You know who you are, and I'm not going to mention who you are, but it's a little intimidating knowing that there is a group of these individuals on the other side who are currently sitting down, having a beverage, and watching me. And I'm going to show you a photo that they were very kindly sharing. This here is a picture of the room that they're currently sitting in. And apparently my stream is now up on screen. And they send their love. So much love to all of those people. I look forward to catching up with you again soon, and thanks as always for your support. Give each other a big squeeze for me, so very much appreciated. I'm going to delete that photo. OPSEC or something. Oh, that's... What? Oh, I can't delete because it's read only. Alright, I'll delete it on my parent VM. Here we go. Lurker's in. Floptimus is in as well. Greetings all. Alright, so we've actually got a bit of a crew outside of the people who are literally sitting in front of their desktops, which is a lovely feeling, very intimidating given the quality of people who I know are paying attention to this stream. So yeah, pretty scary stuff. Something else that I wanted to mention was recently I managed to acquire a copy of this book, and here's proof. Attacking Network Protocols by the one and only Mr. Forshaw. Dude's a legend, and I'm going to name drop a little bit now, but I was fortunate enough to have dinner with him and his lovely wife, who I won't mention name-wise for OPSEC reasons, and another chap by the name of Luke, who goes by the name Cynic on Twitter, and we were all sitting down having dinner, and I got James to sign my book, and he was kind enough to write this inside. You know what I just said about James? Screw that guy. Check him out trolling me with a get system exploit. And what I love about this too is the thread that came, thread of responses that came as a result of this. Lots of people enjoying it. Here you go, here's Luke, Cynic. There's Movix getting in and very much appreciating it. Same with Lydia. So, everyone was getting in on the whole, OJ and his get system joke. Thanks very much, bunch of jokes. Anyway, it's good fun, and James is a bit of a champion. Really enjoyed the time I spent with him, Luke, and his wife. So that was cool. Also, those people who pay attention to what's in the background here. Bit of a fan of the old foosball. When I was tweeting to Haroon Mir recently, as a result of him posting this tweet, so they've got a 3D print in the office and said it will lead to useful creations. Check out this thing that he's made for his little foosball man. But I saw the foosball guy and I was like, hey, that looks like the same dude that's on my table. And so I asked him, which foosball table is it? And it looks pretty much exactly the same to mine, so I sent him a picture. But unfortunately, it's not exactly the same. But what this actually means is that when Haroon and I meet face to face, we are going to have to find a foosball table and have a game, which would be awesome fun. So there you go. I mean, as shit as our community can be sometimes, it really does have good people in it, scattered all over the place. Speaking of good people, Justin's just appeared. Everyone's really getting on that get system thing. Okay, so can I ask you something? Lurker, yes, you can ask me something. What would you like to ask? Whoa. Yeah, Volko, he's been a little AFK of late. Do you need a coffee? I do. So I have. This is my little reminder from Lurker every time we stream. So I am accepting donations if you feel the need to donate, but please don't feel obliged because it's absolutely not necessary. Links are just below thing just there. Just added them recently. So anyway, don't feel obliged to. If you feel like throwing a copy at me, great. I might spend it on tea though, no, that's all right. So after the last set of stream, in fact, it might have even been before the last set of streams, I threw it out to the internets and said, hey, would you be open to going through a couple of like old school crack me's and reverse me's? And it was a pretty overwhelming response of yes, that'd be really great. So I decided that it'd be a good time to do that. Now, since then, there's been a few people that have suggested things like, let's do a beginner sort of entry-level coverage of shellcoding or 32-bit assembly. There's people saying, let's look at heap exploitation in browsers and use after freeze and all this stuff. So there's some really great suggestions, and I'm going to do my best to try and cover them all. The problem with some of them is that, as much as I like to go through in a completely ad hoc fashion, a little bit of prep is sometimes required to make sure that the process is clear in my head before I start streaming, even if what we're targeting is off the cuff. So often, like for example, even though I didn't do it today, I might download a binary and pop it myself, just so that I'm back in the vibe of doing it, so that when we pick up another binary and we have a go at that on stream, it's like I'm kind of in the vibe. So I'll need to spend a little bit of time doing that to make sure that when you guys do follow along on stream, it's not just a rambling mess of me sitting here going, I don't even know which things to Google. I still very much go through the process, but I don't want it to be an absolute shit fight. Hey Vikran, good to see you, buddy. Man, we've got a good turnout this evening. Loving it. Loving it. We've got a couple of folks on the YouTubes as well, by the looks of it. We've got 10 watching on YouTube. Fantastic. That must be a record. How many on Mixer? Mixer, we have just me. What a surprise. Mixer seems to be a very much a gamer heavy thing, and I don't think it's as known as the other options. So. Anyway, so what I've done is I've gone through the archive from crackmes.de, which is hosted at crackmes.cf, which I think is pretty much a static clone of the old crackmes.de that's hosted up on GitHub. And then I just basically grepped through a bunch of crackmes and thought, I'll just pick one or two that sound like they could be a goer. And so the first one I landed on was this one here. It's a couple of years old, published in August 2016. But I went for this one because it had a couple of anti-debugging things according to the description here. And it's a Windows crackme. So there is, by the looks of it, only one solution that was submitted, at least to the site, and about 200 downloads. So, a few people have had a go. So I'm guessing that this will be like not necessarily the hardest thing on the planet, but not immediately trivial either. So I'm going to start with that one, and then depending on how slow or fast we go through that, I've got this other one sitting here ready to go as well. This one sounds a little bit more painful. It's another Windows one written in assembly, but it's quite a bit older. But you notice there are a significant number of downloads compared to the previous one, and still only 2 solutions. So based on what we're seeing here, this is probably going to be harder than the previous one. All right. So I'm gonna be how you going, dude? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna download this crackme. Crackme.zip, password is crackmes.de. So I'm gonna download this crackme, open it up, crackmes.de. We'll copy that out. Might even just shove it straight on the desktop. It's not immediately appealing, is it? Given that by the looks of it, it wants elevation. Storm, how you going? Command Controller, Eric, good to see you, mate. Vendetta, Rick's in as well. How you going, guys? Man, what an epic turnout tonight. It's fantastic. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through the process, or the process that I would follow to own this crackme. And that'll probably consist of a combination of manual static analysis and manual dynamic analysis, etc., in an effort to get the gold, which according to this is just finding the password. So let's fire it up. Let's see what happens when we run it. Now it's given this little shield symbol. It's going to ask for elevation, which is ooh. Yeah, whatever. Just run it. We know what we're doing. Do you want to allow this app? Yes, I do. What could go wrong? Okay, so asked for the password. As we all know, like hunt it too. If this isn't the password, then I don't know what we're going to do, to be honest. No, really? Okay. All right, so by the looks of things, it's probably going to have some kind of hard-coded password in there, but the fact that it requires elevation is interesting. So what we might start with is let's open this up in, is it 32-bit? Doesn't even say here, does it? Let's open it up in IDA. Now let's use Binger. Let's see what Binger can do for us this particular time. Oops. Would be helpful if I could type. As you can see, there's still an overhang from when we did the diary pwnable recently. So let's drag this one in and have a look at what we've got going on. Okay, I think we, what I tend to do, like, because this is a little bit of a blast from the past, I was expecting this to be like a Windows GUI application with like dialog boxes and things like that where you actually type serial numbers in. So I don't know, maybe the next one will be like that. I was kind of hoping in some ways it'd be a GUI app, but it's not. It's a console app. So let's have a look and see what this thing is doing. To begin with, I'm going to do the usual. Have a look for the strings and see what's in here. Okay, so this is interesting. SE debug privilege. Now this may well explain why it's asking for elevation. Expect the unexpected, hey? Nice, you found the password. RTL set process is critical. I don't even know what that API function is. RTL set process is critical. It probably does what it says on the tin. RTL set process. Oh, there you go. Interesting. So what does this do? Behavior. Definition. System critical breaks are DIN enabled. Status effects. Point to setting a process is critical is that the process stops, then so must the system. Ah. Okay, so what this is saying is, like, if you set your current process to critical and it stops, then the whole thing stops. The whole system stops. Now that's bad. That's bad. I don't want that happening. So we might actually have to, if we're going to go through the process of debugging this, then we may actually have to patch this out before it happens. Anyway, so what does this say? Protecting your process. Let's see what this blog post says. Code project. There's actually some pretty decent stuff on code project. It's yet another undocumented function hidden in the Windows kernel. It is one of the few which do not have a kernel equivalent. However, Microsoft good reason. Disclaimer is not responsible. It sets your process to a system critical status. This means that the process is now critical to the running of Windows, which means that on termination of your process, Windows itself terminates. Okay, so that's clearly one of the anti-debugging tricks that it's alluding to, which isn't surprising, given that it did say that there was at least one. I'm guessing that there's going to be other ones. Sorry, I'm just cracking open the old chocolate as promised. So good. I'm on quite a small monitor and maybe not the only one. Can we go bump? Okay. Yep, I can bump up the font. And I'll make it nice and fat. How's that, Justin? Shall I do the same for Binger? I wonder if I can do that. Preferences. Let's bump that up to. How's that? Ginger Ninja. Is that good? 55-inch TV is the only way to watch OJ streams. Yeah, hell yeah, Apple. I agree. Okay. All right, so that's a very interesting thing to see. Let's have a look at what else. Get current process. Check remote debugger present. Gee, I wonder what that does. Yes, yes, indeed. Get SS, a secure version of system. So there's a system invocation going on. That's a little bit concerning. I wonder what it is that it's invoking. We'll have a look at that in just a minute. So what else have we got here? We've got setting handled exception filters, terminating processes, checking processor features. Is debugger present? There you go. There's another one. This XML blob looks to be the application's manifest. So I would assume that, I don't know whether we can copy the text of this or not, but that's definitely a manifest. And inside here, oh, here you go, requested privileges. That's probably going to be asking for a higher execution level. Let's maybe move that over. Yeah, that's what that's doing. Nothing too special going on there. Okay. All right. So there's some interesting things going on. We might actually just document a couple of things. So let's change the font so that it's bigger to keep Justin happy. So we know that is debugger present is something we need to manage, something to do with RTL set critical process. What was that other one? That was one I hadn't actually seen before. Check remote debug present. Check remote debugger present. And the other ones look fairly innocuous. They're probably just doing a little bit of self-analysis or something similar. So let's just leave those there. So make sure that we know. Now this is interesting. Pause. Yeah, okay, maybe that's what's being passed to system. Back in the good old days. Excuse me, back in the good old days when you used to run console apps in Windows, you would want people to double click on your application, the console would appear. And once it had finished ripping through, doing whatever it is that it was doing, it would finish and the console window would go away. So you wouldn't actually see any of the output. So it was a common trick, for want of a better expression, to call system and pass in the string pause, because that would actually cause the application's console to block until someone presses the enter key. So that is going to be my guess. Where are we? Can we xref this thing? I guess we can't. Anyway, let's go back to the graph. I would assume that we don't actually see the imports in here. Oh, look at this, is process feature present. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up IDA, 32-bit version, so you can see that Binger has recognized that it's 32-bit. I can't see any evidence at all of 64-bit instructions. So let's open this crackney in IDA and see what IDA has to say about it. Okay, so where are we looking at? Options, general. I prefer line prefixes so we can see addresses. And let's change the font to, so disassembly, I'll put it as consoles because I like consoles. We'll make it 14. There we go. So that should at least be useful enough for Justin so that he can see. Binger's quite reasonably priced too. Yeah, you're still having a chat about Binger and IDA. Yeah, agreed. All right, let's see. Now what I want to do, see, this has actually done a little bit of a better job of figuring out which functions are invoked. Can we see system in this list? No, I can see exit. Why can't I see it? Let's have a quick look down towards the end of this main function. Aha, here we go. Okay, so we can see this call here, invoking system, and what is it passing? The command EAX points to whatever this is. And we don't actually know what that is at this point. It's on the stack, right? So there must be somewhere along the line a string will be shoved into this location. Another option would be to debug it and just hit the breakpoint there, but hey, I'm not going to do that just yet because I don't want it to crash my system or do anything horrible. Okay. All right, so by the looks of it, I'm going to go with it is calling system pause because it's effectively what's happening when we run the program anyway, right? When we do this. There you go, invalid password, press any key to continue. That press any key to continue thing, I think, there you go, press any key to continue. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. So let's maybe jot that down. Let's go back to Binja. We'll use Binja for a bit more until it becomes painful. It may already be painful given that I can't see any of the functions. Whoops. Start. Let's go back to idle. Okay, so by the looks of it, this is calling system with pause as a string. So we know that that's just basically holding the console up at the end. All right, let's just have a quick scan through here and see what kind of magic is happening. So let's go back to the beginning. What do we got here? We are usual function prologue, setting up some stack space and doing its usual thing. Not sure what this is doing. Some kind of loop with XORs for... That's bizarre, isn't it? It looks like it's looping over a string. So this string name. And XORing with what's CL? CL would be it's 0 at this point. So we move 0 to AL and we add 6F and we use that basically as an XOR key for the byte that we're pointing to. So stack buffer plus the index. We increment the index and check to see if it's 16 and loop. Okay, so it looks like loop 16 times. It looks like, so given that CL is going to contain the index of like the loop, and then we're adding 6F, what this XOR looks like, it's like XOR current character with hex 6, if I can type 6F plus index, whatever that is, right? And here you can see we're incrementing the index and looping. So it looks like maybe this name string here has some stuff in it, and we don't know what that is because it's on the stack. So we're kind of maybe decoding something in memory. What's going on in chats? I'm not really paying attention to it. Can you use, what was that? Someone talking about using cracks. Can you use IDA free to crack IDA Pro? No, don't do that. That's illegal. We do not condone illegal activity. Rasta! Rasta's here. Fantastic. How you going, Rasta? Good to see you, mate. Thanks for coming along. Yeah, so by the looks of it, I think that's just decoding something in memory. And then from there, what are we doing? Getting the current process. Gee, I wonder what that does. Get current process. So we're extracting a token of the current process. And what are we doing? We are... Aha. Check remote debugger is present. So here we're actually looking to see whether or not we've got a privilege. My guess is, given that we saw in the strings table, let's use Binger for strings. Given that we saw in the strings table, where is it? SE debug privilege 403138. I reckon that's what it's looking for. Oops. LFUID. I reckon that's going to be used at some point. And this looks like some magic encoding gubbins, doesn't it? So what I'm interested in doing before we kick off is making sure that we don't actually crash because of the anti-debugging tricks. And from what I can see here, the main ones. So there's this check remote debugger present. If it's present, where are we? So that compares var9c. Aha. So check remote debugger present. Let's have a quick look at the API for that. Check remote. Okay, check remote debugger present. What are the parameters of this puppy? Zoom. Okay, check remote debugger present. You've got to give it a handle to the process, and you've got to give it a pointer to a boolean, and it says whether or not a process is being debugged. So it looks like you can check to see whether another process is being debugged. So based on what it's saying here, the remote check remote debug doesn't imply the debugger necessarily resides on a different computer. Instead, indicates debugger resides in a separate parallel process. Use isDebuggerPresent function to detect whether the calling process is running under the debugger. So effectively, it looks like it's doing the same thing, because the process handle that it's passing in, as we can see here, is the current process. All right. So we call get current process, which will return the result in EAX, and we push that straight up and call check remote debugger present, which means var_c is the boolean. So this is going to be, let's go back to, what is this called? PB debugger present. Let's rename that so that it's in line with the API. What do you mean it couldn't do that? Oh, well, who cares? I'll just leave it like that. It looks like it's picked it up anyway, right? What else we got going on? One token to reversing levels. It noticed the debugger and any other shenanigans. It just fork bombed your blocks as punishment. That's pretty savage. Yeah, we don't want anything like that happening. So what this is saying is jump on non-zero to 12CB if it's detected. 12CB. So I would assume here, this location here is debugger detected. Do some bad stuff. I reckon that's what this function here is going to do. Maybe we should have a look. What is it doing? Get module handle, load library. Oh, it's loading something. Get proc address, and calling it. Check this out. This is interesting. Everywhere we look, where we're doing stuff with strings, it seems to be doing this XOR routine. Wonder if there was like an inline function that it used for this sort of stuff. Hey, Menstrual! Men's, nice to see you, mate. Thanks for coming along. Sorry, just one sec. I had a buzzing sound appear. Okay. All right. So, I think it's probably fair to say that whatever this is doing, it's not what we want it to be doing. So I'm going to go back to where we were before, and I'm going to assume that any time that this entry point is executed, then that's bad. So there are a number of locations where this is being called. Now, let's just have a look, because after this invocation, 4012CB, what's immediately after that? Let's have a look at this in linear mode. Text view, here we go. Where are we? Thread library, get proper address, call it X. This is not where we were before, was it? Give me a second, I'm just trying to find that import again so that we can jump straight to it. It's not there. I'm terrible at navigating this. Terrible. So this is where current thread system. There we go. So that would be the end. That would be a little bit higher than this. Check remote debugger present. Jump to here. Okay. So immediately after this, so this is actually the full end of the function. So maybe I was thinking, if after this function, this area of the function, we effectively just carry on doing stuff as if everything had passed, then maybe we can just literally knock out that call and not worry about it. But given that that's not the case, it looks like every time we do a jump to that location, we probably want to null it out. Okay. So let's see what we got here. Anyway, there's clearly a check here, the check remote debugger present, and then there's another function that's called, and if it returns non-zero, then it goes there as well. And then have a look at this. That's doing effectively what isDebugger present does behind the scenes, is checking the file segment register at offset 30 hex, which has a flag that basically says whether the debugger is present. So hang on, let me just see if I can get some documentation. Windows debugger, Windows anti-debugging reference. Let's have a look. So for those people that haven't seen this before, let's have a look. FS30. So inside the process environment block, which is what the PEB is, there is a flag that says whether or not a process is being debugged. And as you can see here, it refers to the second byte in the PEB. It's set by the system when the process is being debugged. So this byte can be reset to 0 without consequences for the course of execution of the program. It's an informative flag. So here you can basically say, check the content of this register, and if it's set to 1, then it's effectively an indication that the process is being debugged. So we're calling check remote debugger present. We're doing a custom thing, which we'll look at in just a minute, and we're doing a manual check to see whether or not that the second byte at that offset has the value set to 1. So what I'm going to do is, for every single one of these jumps, I'm effectively going to knock them out. And we'll do that in just a minute. But let's have a look at what this sub does. Let's go graph view, because I much prefer graph view. So what are we doing here? We are calling get current thread, get thread context. And after that, what are we doing? Comparing something in the thread context to 0 and jumping down to here. True. So it looks like we're just doing a bunch of checks. So that's saying it's safe, that's saying it's safe, that's saying it's safe. Mov AL1. Okay, so each one of these things here indicates this is a condition that indicates that it thinks maybe a debugger is present, and this here is saying no. So going back over here, we can see that the result of this test, if it's non-zero, so if it returns 1, then bail out. So this comment here might be wrong in this particular case. but there's clearly something in here. So let's see. Let's have a look at what the documentation for get thread context says. Actually, you know what we can do? Anti-debug get thread context. Let's see what this says. Hope you're all chilling, enjoying your tea and your chocolate and your hacks. Smash has turned up. Good to see you, Smash. Okay, so what was this? Get thread context. Okay, let's zoom in again because Justin is blind and old. So, hardware breakpoints. In the x86 architecture, there's a set of debug registers used by devs when checking and debugging code. These registers allow you to interrupt program code and do all the magics. Debug registers are privileged resource and can be used by a program only in real mode or safe mode with a privilege level CPL equals 0. So that could be requiring the SE debug privilege. There are 8 registers. Breakpoint registers, ooh, that's interesting. Debug status and debug control. So DR0 through 3 contain linear addresses of breakpoints. Comparison of these addresses is performed before physical address translation. Okay, this is really interesting. So clearly what's going on here is we're asking for, it looks like we're going to be doing exactly this. We ask when we call get thread context, we pass in context debug registers, which says give us the debug registers. And if in the debug registers there are any breakpoints set, then bail out. So let's go back to IDA. And this must be what this is. So CC 8, 4, and 0. So these are the first 4. If any of them are non-zero, then bail out. So this is clearly checking to see whether or not there are any breakpoints set, right? So this would be the last breakpoint based on what we're seeing here, DR3. So let's go. This is DR2. I should say, does DR2 contain an address? So DR being the debug register. And I'm going to jot that down for each one of these. This is DR3. This is DR1. And this is DR0. Actually, it might be the other way around because of the... no, that's exactly what it should be. So in other words, this location we're jumping to, what does this mean? This means that a debug register contains an address. At least one of the debug registers contains an address, implying that a breakpoint has been set and hence the process is being debugged. Check out that comment. Okay, so if any of those things happen, then bad. So in other words, this function, we'll call this is breakpoint set. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is let's just save this. Can you put comments in Binger? Yes, you can definitely put comments in Binger J in exactly the same way you can with IDA. You can even undo it. Okay, so basically what we're doing here is we're saying is breakpoint set. Isn't that what I just renamed this thing? I put a comment there, but I didn't rename it. Is breakpoint set. Yes. All right. Now let's go back. Oh yeah. Control W is save in IDA for those people who don't know. So call is breakpoint set, debugger detected. All right. So what I want to do at this point now, given that it's pretty clear what this thing is doing at this point, we're going to knock these things out. However, check this out. there's probably one thing that we should be doing. Where is it? It was up here, wasn't it? Near the start. It looks like it's doing this in multiple locations as well. So looking at privileges and everything is okay. We don't really need to worry about that. This stuff here. So I don't know what this is doing, but it's doing something. And based on what we say, there you go, there's another one of those decode routines that decodes a string in memory before moving on. But I'm wondering what this is doing here, because as we can see, get s, this function, this is where we're receiving input from the caller. So what would it be trying to do prior to doing that? Let's have a look inside this sub. So this is a hard-coded block of data. You pass in, you set a value to ECX in ECX. So prior to calling this, ECX is set to whatever this local variable is. And then we call this sub, this function, which references ECX. And then by the looks of it, it's just copying bytes directly to that location. And it's null terminating it. So chances are that this is just getting a copy of a string, which it will immediately decode. Doesn't seem particularly savage, does it? So that doesn't concern me too much. It looks like it's just copying some hard-coded data from somewhere. But what is this one doing? We are standard common vprintf, vfprintf. So this is just doing a fairly classic invocation of the printf or something similar. So when we call getS, and then immediately afterwards we output something. So what does this say? Back again, YOLO, invalid password. So my guess then would be that this here is invoking the equivalent of printf with invalid password. Oh, actually, no, this might be something else. We call this pass in 0, and we push EAX, whatever that is. Oh, okay. Yeah, so this thing is being reused, and it's calling printf based on the result of So here's the reason why I'm a little bit confused here, is because this sub is being invoked in 2 different locations. But I would assume that if you get the password correct, it'll... Ah, okay, here we go. Here, this is probably what happens. Or maybe this is where it's yeah, maybe this is where it's actually invoking the invalid password thing. I think the only way to know this would be to debug it. So before we go ahead and debug it, I'm going to patch these calls out. Okay, so let's make sure that we're not doing anything bad. So here we need to go edit function. Can't remember how to do this. Oh no, it's F2, isn't it? You press F2, or is it Control F2? Just bear with me a minute. I know I've got a reference to this somewhere. My IDA foo is terrible. Feel free if someone wants to come in and whatnot. Why not use the Silahide plugin for IDA instead of manual patching? Fruitcake, great question for 2 reasons. Number 1, I didn't know that plugin existed. And 2 is I like doing things manually because it's a little bit more raw. and people can see sort of what the baked in feature of the toolset is and whatnot. But feel free, if you can, please, share a link, Fruitcake, and share a link to this Silahide plugin for IDA, because the people who are watching probably make good use of that. What am I looking for? So I've got it off. This isn't happening on screen because I'm doing this on my desktop. Pretty sure I've got it here somewhere. Okay, so I wrote a blog post on how to do this ages ago, and now I'm referencing my own blog post. That's why I blog, because it's this kind of stuff that really, really helps. Okay, so where are we? Where's the shortcut? The shortcut is right-click and select synchronize with HexView. Okay, so I should be able to go synchronize with HexView 1. Did I just undo that? Yeah. So HexView 1 is here. So that instruction, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bytes. Now, all I have to do to modify these bytes is press F2. I knew there was an F2 here. So I'm going to knock these out. 90, 90, 90. Oops. That was dumb. Let's go back here again. Make sure we've got the same address. 2, 9, 0, 9, 0, 9, 0, 9, 0, 9, 0. It was 6 bytes, wasn't it? 9, 0. Press F2 again. And then go back here and we should see everything's knocked. Thanks, Fruitcake. That'd be awesome, mate. Very much appreciate that. So then we will call isBreakpointSet and do exactly the same thing at this location. So let's go back to HexView and we can see we've got to do the same thing here. 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. F2 again to go out of edit mode. And we just mocked out the jump again. So at this point, we're then doing our final check by the looks of it. And again, we need to do the same thing with this jump here. So let's go back to this view. F2 again, 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. Okay, so now we shouldn't have any jumps that end up at debugger detected. But look here, we've got exactly the same happening. So they do the checks before and after. So they check leading in and then they check heading out, which isn't a bad thing, right? So we'll do the same here. View, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And same again here. We don't want to jump to. Now the reason I'm patching the jumps, remember, is because I don't actually want the flow control to head in that area because the function exits at that point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now that we're at this point, hopefully this means that there's nothing in here that's going to cause us too much damage. But we'll do a little bit more analysis before we carry on. Now I'm just going to save that. Let's go patch program, apply patches to input file. We'll do the whole thing, and this time we'll call it crack me 2. We'll just create a backup input file there. We'll call this. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that. Okay. Can you patch in Binger? Yes, you can. You definitely can, Jay. I'll look to do something similar when we finish with this first round. All right, so let's see what happens when we run this. It should just do its thing, no problem. So we haven't broken it at this point. So let's just make sure that this is the one that we modified at 8:55, which is now. Okay, so that's definitely updated. This is the original one, and this is the one that we've just patched. Okay, so now, like I said, when we looked at Binger before, we saw this RTL set process is critical. Now, I really don't want that to happen. So remember how we saw one of these functions call load library and get proc address and then invoke a function? I'm pretty sure that that's what it's doing, and we really don't want that to happen. So let's just quickly have a look through the call stack, the call history, the function history. This is definitely some kind of printf. So let's rename this some kind of printf, because that's used all over the place. Did you leave one more jump at the end of this area you were just looking at? Good question. Let's check. Let's check. Where is it? Where is the end of the subs? Yes, I did. Thank you. Thank you, Atwolf. You get a biscuit. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thanks, mate. You have definitely saved me something there if I did decide to attach a debugger, which we are going to do. But yeah, thanks, that's a really good catch. Let's apply that again. Edit, patch brace, apply, patch. Input file, create a backup, we'll call that. Actually, we'll just override it. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that we've patched out all the calls to that. Now that Atwolf has highlighted that we missed one. Let's just quickly go through and make sure that there's no calls to any other, like a custom function that is doing that load library stuff that we want to avoid. Now, where was it? Call. Aha, this is the one that loads all the data, so we don't need to worry about that one. Is that the only one we need to worry about? Close handle, look up for release call, get process. Yeah, I can't see anything here that's. Maybe it's something that's that invokes this. What have we got here? Don't know, that's calling an import of some kind. I'm just want to make sure that whatever it is that's being invoked as part of the process startup doesn't cause the process to be marked as critical. So start common name sh fast fail term. This all looks fine. We went in here just now, didn't we? Yeah. What is that? That'd be probably some kind of import. Invoke trigger, call argv, argc, and then main. There is a reference to load library in here. I remember seeing it. Does anyone else remember seeing it? Pretty sure it's in here somewhere. Call mem set in as it is breakpoint. Is that where it was? Maybe there's something else in here that does that check. Doesn't look like it though, does it? All the calls are pretty standard. Get current thread, get thread context. Yeah, that's not it. So one final pass. We're just decoding some encoded string in memory, getting a process handled, which we will then use for things like check remote debugger present, that kind of thing. This doesn't look like anything special, that's just decoding data. This is copying data, again, nothing particularly special there. Some kind of printf is printing and effing. Check emoji debugger present again. Decoding. There's obviously some other kind of decoding and whatnot going on here. It looks like there's some kind of comparison going on in here as well, but I can't see anything else. Alright, so what I'm going to do is let's just again make sure that this works. Okay, WinDbg. WinDbg. Run as admin. Well, that's not exactly inspiring, is it? Maybe I can't run it as admin. WinDbg. Oh boy. That's really, really upsetting. Could not load debugging from C program. Blah, the specified procedure could not be found. Let's see if we can remove it and reinstall it. Search. DBG preview. Well, this is a little bit crap, isn't it, hey? Your WinVM is cactus. Certainly feels like it, doesn't it? Jeez. All right, well, that's just ridiculous. Windows 10, hang on, we need to go uninstall Windows Store app. How do we actually do that? How to uninstall an app in Windows 10? Is it just an add removes program thing? Add remove programs. Aha. What are the advanced options? Give me. Kill it off.
Pattern recognition.
Repair.
Music is just a series of altered patterns. The musician creates the pattern and makes us.
This is pretty funny, hey?
And holds back.
I click terminate and now nothing's happening. Who loves Windows? Ah, now add or remove programs won't work. Far out. More details. Ooh, there we go. Now it's back up. Advanced options. Repair. Let's see what this is doing. There you go. If this app isn't working, this app will reinstall revert default settings. Let's call reset. Okay. Let's see what happens now. Well, if this is the equivalent of me turning it on and off again. Brace yourselves. Bugger. I hate computers. Well, you know what I'll do if this doesn't work? Hey, I'll use the built-in debugger that's in IDA. Windows Store. Let's close that off. Microsoft Store. Search for WinDbg. Get. All right, so this should. No, go away. Just install it. Pour water on it. You know what? I think you might be right, Chris. I think you might be right. Storm, yeah. Yes, well, you know, I'm hoping that I don't have to go to the point where I literally on the fly install crap. But please, just work. All right. IDA's debugger it is. So what I'm going to do is let's go to here. Let's go local win32 debugger and let's see what happens. Yes, pipes NBN actually is a bit of a winner. I'd brag by doing a speed test, but I don't think I will. So let's hit start. You're about to launch the following app. Yes, I know. I should turn this annoying thing off in, where is it? General? Is it MISC? Or maybe it's debug settings. Debugger options. Where's that warning thing? Is it in here? Debugging message, I think that's it. Okay, go. Oh. Could have sworn that I could disable that. Don't display, yeah, whatever. Requested operation requires elevation. Right, so what I'm going to do is save that, and I'm going to restart IDA. Elevate. Okay, let's load that up again, and let's see if it allows us to do it this time. All right. Woohoo! Okay, so we have a debugger of some description working. Now, by the looks of it, it's not exactly the most intuitive arrangement of stuff on screen, so I might just, maybe I'll move this threads window down here. So that's out of the way. That gives us enough space to see the registers, the modules. The stack view is pretty important though, hey? So maybe what we can do is chuck the stack view alongside here. Because we all like to see the stack. Okay. Memory window doesn't need to be like that either, but we'll leave it like that for now. Okay. What a strange warning. Yes, I agree. VMware kernel serial line debugger. None of this in-host cheating. Hey, you know what? Actually, I'm going to do another stream where we're debugging stuff through the kernel from host to VM. So that will come. All right, now I don't know what the shortcuts are for this, and they seem to be different every time. So step into F7, F8. Okay, so this isn't too dissimilar. So F8, F10, 11. Run to cursor is F4. Okay, F9 is continue. So it's a little bit different, but not enough to cause problems. Step into is F7, step over is F8. Okay, so let's keep an eye on registers. Move ALCL. So in EAX we have an address. Now can we synchronize with EAX? Okay, so we can see what's in EAX now. Let's go over this gently and see what happens. So we're doing an XOR with ESP plus ECX. So whatever that is, let's maybe synchronize this with ESP, because there'll be something in here. ECX 0CH plus name. I don't even know what that is, but it's down here somewhere. Something's going to be changing. Let's just quickly step over this one more time, because I'd like to see what this address is going to be. 79F825. 79F820 1 2 3 4 5. So it's something going on around here, yeah? Would the remote debugger checks trigger if you were kernel debugging? That's a really good question, Smash. I don't know the answer to that. That's maybe something that we can experiment with another time. Anyway, keep your eye on this section here and see what happens. Oh. Did that did move, didn't it? F2. This is really irritating. Why does it keep moving? Because ESP is currently pointing to FD0, which is what it's doing, but I want that at the top. 5.3. Okay, let's just go through this a few more times, because it's clearly changing something here. Oh, SEDE, here we go. SE debug priv. There you go. So it's getting SE debug privilege string. Okay, so that's really not too much of a concern, right? Here it is. I just tested it, but it doesn't seem to work in IDS 7, only IDS 6. Cool. Thanks, Fruitcake. So for those people who are interested in the Silahide plugin for IDA, Fruitcake has just posted that in the chat. So be sure to have a look at that, because apparently it makes some of this stuff a bit easier. So thanks very much for sharing that, mate. That's awesome. So what we might do then is, once that's done, let's just run to here. And then we should be able to see, there you go, SE debug privilege is completely decoded here. All right, so let's just step over these. Call to get current process, and then open process token. There's nothing particularly magical going on here, but we're calling lookup debug privilege, which should basically return, yes, we do actually have that privilege enabled, which is no big deal. And then here we're going, check remote debugger present. So what would probably happen is that on the return of this call, this debugger present flag is set to 1, which it is. You can see there, db1. But because we've knocked out our breakpoints, our jump, we don't actually bail. So is a breakpoint currently set? According to this, that function returned yes, but again, we've knocked out that call, so that doesn't matter. Let's do another check against the PEB, and you can see that that is also set to 1. So a debugger is currently present, but we don't care. Okay. All right, see you, Justin. Thanks for coming along, dude. Much appreciated. All right, so I don't know what this instruction does, so let's just go over it and pretend that it's not done anything useful. Okay, so currently ECX is pointed to something, but obviously we want to reuse this location. So here, ECX, let's synchronize this with ECX for a minute, and then we'll not synchronize it at all. And hopefully we'll be able to see the content of this change. ECX is 79F838. 79F83. So here's where we should start seeing things change, right? 838, just in here. So assuming that, when we get to this call here for the sub, that, yeah, that things, oh, hang on, that's where ECX is actually used. Maybe what we need to do is, what is that, 79F7DC, 79F7DC. So I'm assuming that a bunch of data in here is going to get modified as we iterate over this. There we go, it is changing. Okay, now ECX, which points to 838 here. So we should see a bunch of memory around here change too. Yeah, there we go. So clearly what's going on here is that it's copying encoded strings into these locations. ESP var 98, var 88 is F808, so that is here. So we should start to see some things change around here as well. Yep, okay. So by the looks of it, where are we? ESP var AC. What is that? That is F7E4. So F7E4. So I would assume that basically this bunch of stuff in here is going to get decoded, although only 10 bytes of it. So password. Okay, so there's the string password, followed by null terminator, and print that to screen. So there it is. And now it's asking for our string. So let's give it the AABBCCDD. Let's see what this does. Now, obviously this pointer, which was here, F86C, F86, there it is. That's where our string has just been stored. Fruitcake, to install it, unpack, blah. Oh, awesome. Thanks very much, dude. That's great. There you go. There's even install instructions for the plugin thanks to Fruitcake. Thanks a lot for that, mate. All right, so what are we doing here? We are... okay, so the very last byte here, by the looks that it wants to print out, is currently 6F, and so it's nulling that out. Sorry, 6.5. So 79F, 7D8, F7D8. So that byte there should be modified when we do this step. There you go. So new line. There we go. That reverts that to a new line. And then what does EAX hold for us? So that's pointing to F7D8, which is just the new line. And we push that and then null terminate immediately afterwards and print. So that's basically just printing a new line to screen. So nothing particularly special there. All right, get the current process, check if it's present again. And as you can see, that is, it is detecting that there's a debugger, but it's not doing anything about it, which is awesome. Fruitcake. No problem, glad to help. That's awesome, man. That's what I love about these streams and having interactivity is we have people like you come along and drop some more knowledge bombs for everyone to benefit from. So that's really great. Thank you. All right, let's skip over this stuff. We know what this is doing now. We don't care because we've effectively bypassed it. Okay, so now what are we decoding? F7, F8, F7, F8. So everything from here we are now decoding, and there's going to be just shy of 16 bytes. So, sorry. We're going to do 16 plus another 5. So from here up to about here, we should see that slowly decoding. Expect the unexpected. How interesting. So by the looks of it, no. Expect the unexpected. Really? So EAX points to F874, which F874 is here. So that's the string that we've given it. And ECX points to the string that's literally just been decoded in memory. So that is doing what looks to be a byte by byte comparison. Yeah, whatever. So I'm gonna stop that. Let's run this. Expect the, was it capital? Unexpected. Well, there you go. So by the looks of it, the expect the unexpected was the password. And as we saw here, towards the end of main, let me just show you, because that wasn't exactly obvious. Main, down the bottom here, after we had read the input in, this block of code here decrypted a hard-coded string that was in memory, and that was expect the unexpected. So I'm just going to put a breakpoint just, hang on, is that where I wanted it? Ah, it was here. So let's go to here instead, and let's spin that up again. Yep. Okay. F9. F9. Oh yeah, it needs to. Hang on, let's just close this. A, B, B, C, C, D, D. Okay, so as we saw, ECX, we should just synchronize this with ECX. Expect the unexpected. So you can see EAX is, oh, hang on, ECX is 3.8. So that's it there. Expect the unexpected. Okay, so that was decoded in memory, and here you can just see that it's doing a straight comparison. And if it doesn't match, then we bail out. If it does match, then we just continue to go through and loop. So clearly this this little block of code, all it's doing was decrypting, decoding something in memory, and that was pretty much it. So not a particularly savage reversing exercise, but yeah, there you have it. I think we saw that string in Binge. We did, didn't we? We definitely did. So whoever created this, where is it? Expect the unexpected. Whoever created this failed miserably to keep the strings out of the binary itself. But still, you know, I mean, we could have cheated and just looked for that string and punched that in to begin with. But I think we all probably learned something in the process of that. My guess is the RTL. So let's see if we can find it in here. An invocation to RTL set process critical, whatever it is. This would be main here, right? Get module handle. No, that's not it. Ugh. So the back button in this is pretty irritating, I have to say. It keeps taking me way too far back. Okay, so we can stop this debugging now. Is it just me, or does this keep reordering as well? Okay, so main is invoked here by, I guess that's ASLR, isn't it? D61. Yeah, so start. Start, I think, is the previous. Anyway, look, I'm wasting a little bit of time. Is everyone clear on what we just saw? Everyone down with what we just wandered through? Any questions? Wasn't a particularly tricky thing to reverse, but hopefully that was clear. What I might do though is run this in a debugger that's without all of the things being patched. So let's call that crackme2. This is the original one. Oh no, actually it's not. That was the one that we patched a second time. So I'm gonna have to pull this out again. Yeah, run anyway. Okay, so let's open that up. So what I might do is rename that as well. New, let's open crack me. And let's just run it with a straight Win32 debugger. Ah, that's annoying. I forgot to run it elevated. Well, I lost everyone. Local 32, go. Oh, check that out. Nice. So there you go. It is clearly doing something magic behind the scenes. Let's go and investigate what that function does. So the fact that we knocked out all the jumps to that function mean that we weren't able to sort of dive into it because it wasn't in my view and I sort of lost track of it. But yeah, let's go and see what that's doing. I love a good blue screen. So it definitely marked itself as a privileged process. And then by the looks of it, it terminates itself. That's cool. I love a good crash. You guys enjoy that? Nice. You didn't see the blue screen appear? Did it not? The stream stopped. Yeah, nice crash. Yeah, cool. Okay, so let's do this again. And let's go over. Right, we'll start from scratch. Did I load this elevated? I don't think I did I? Thank you. Crackme.idb. All right, so when we jump to this location, we call this sub. Righto, so get module handle a load library. Let's see what library is being loaded. Get proc address. My guess is that it's calling RTL whatever it is. And then, what are we doing here? Are there any other calls going on here? Get module handles, no biggie. All right, let's run this with the local Win32. Okay, so get proc address. Now our stack, oh man, it's completely muffed all of my views up. Let's synchronize this with ESP. Okay, so RTL set process is critical and anti-DLL.dll. So get proc address is being invoked. Oh, it looks like it didn't, get module handle. So get module handle basically would have gone, try and get a reference to anti-DLL.dll, and if it's not there, then we'll load it. That's what this load library call would have done. But given that anti-DLL.dll was already loaded, it skipped over that piece of code and we ended up with get proc address. So EDX contains a reference to anti-DLL, and EAX is a pointer to RTL set process is critical. Right, so we call that, and that returns with EAX. What does that contain? Yeah, okay. So that call set process is critical. We push 0, 0, and then 1. So again, yeah, let's restore. So hopefully, okay, so new, old, and need SCB. So new argument is the desired new setting for whether the current process is critical. Pointer to the old, the argument can be null. Argument specifies whether to require the system critical brakes be already enabled for the current process. Okay, so we're saying we definitely want it to be marked as critical. We don't really care about storing the previous one, and we don't require that system critical brakes are already enabled for the process, whatever that happens to mean. So what's cool about this is that we end up calling this function and then we exit immediately. What's the password for the OJ account? It's Hunter2. Everyone knows that. Chris, oh, thanks, dude. Very much appreciate you and all of any other New Zealanders that have stayed up as late to watch me mumble my way through this crack me. Okay, so then once that has been invoked, that returned with the AX set to 0. So let's just see. Back to the documentation. It returns NT status, so that's NT status success. So 0 in EAX indicates success. And then at this point here, we're invoking exit. So we've marked ourselves as a critical process, and then we forcibly exit ourselves, and that blue screens. That's cute. Isn't that cute? Oh God, the firewall's off. Yes, yes. I like to live dangerously. So there you go. That's basically the story. I'm going to stop the debugger here so that it doesn't crash the box. Oh, it does it anyway. All right. I thought by stopping the debugger, it wouldn't just like detach. But given that we had marked the process as critical as soon as we had returned and I stopped the process, then we effectively end up with the same thing. So that is pretty evil, hey? I don't think I've seen that before. Has anyone else seen that kind of thing before? This chocolate's so good. Alright, so what time is it? That's an hour and a half. I'm thinking that's quite a nice little that's a nice little stream, and then maybe we can tackle the second one, whatever it was called, another time. So that wasn't so bad. Couple of okay, so I found the password easily, a couple of anti-debug tricks, bad flow jumps coming up. Yeah, that wasn't particularly difficult. So I think, yeah, I do need to fix WinDBG. I have no idea what the story is. Command control 4:38. Ah, Eric, man, you need to get some sleep, sunshine. It is 4:30 in the morning. That's ridiculous. Why? Couldn't you just jump back and recall the function? Yes, that's exactly what I could have done, but I was just not thinking, so that's all good. 202, nice one, Nightmate. Thanks, dude. Very much appreciate you coming along. That's super awesome, and hopefully I'll get to see you next time as well. Floptimus Crime. There is also a new site for cracknews. Ah, cracknews.1. Hey, is that not the one? Let's have a look. Simple place where you can download cracknews to improve your reverse engineering skills. Fantastic. Latest cracknews. Difficulty 325. There's one. Did I see a 5? Here we go. Windows C++. Have you ever been an episode of Rick and Morty where Rick jumps in his battery and proceeds to jump his battery further and further? It's kind of like that. Great. That's cool. Thanks, Floptimus. I think we might be able to use this as a resource for future streams. Thanks, 202. That's awesome, mate. I really do appreciate you coming along. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. That's an hour and a half. That's a pretty comfortable time to, have a stream, bit of an introduction to simple reverse engineering bits and pieces. And hopefully people will have learned something. There's a couple of little things that I learned from that, particularly setting the process as critical and then terminating it. That was kind of cute. We've got, who is it, Fruitcake, that's provided a link to an IDA plugin that will help patch things out. I'm going to go and have a play with that myself and see what that does. Maybe we can stream that another time as well. But I think with that done, maybe we can use that as a platform to target this next one, which apparently has a higher level of difficulty, and we'll do that maybe next time. Actually, before we go, let's pull this down. I just want to see. Crackmes.de. Let's just pop that over there for a sec. It was those two, wasn't it? Okay, so this, let's run this. Run anyway. Ah ha ha, here we go. Now this is more like what I was expecting. So here's a crappy Windows application that's asking for a name and serial number. And so what would be cool from this point is going through the process of reversing an actual Win32 binary, which should be fun. So let's do this next time. So Lurk is asking how the skin on my hands is going. So for those people who don't know, I do spend a bit of time rock climbing, as do a number of people who are on the stream with us. And my skin is actually a lot better than it was. Thanks for asking. A rock climbing discussion. Yeah, well, you know, I'd be open to having like a massive hangout with fellow rock climbers or fellow wannabe rock climbers or people who know nothing about rock climbing. I'm open to that. But yeah, that's certainly beyond the context of this stream. Live stream of bouldering sesh. Now that's a bloody good idea. I wonder how we're going to do that. Well, first problem for me is that my local gym isn't a bouldering gym. It's a top rope gym. So I would need one person to belay and one person to record at the same time. So maybe we need to get a few of the crew together and do something along those lines. I'm certainly open to having some fun with that sort of stuff though. So yeah. Anyway, look, I'm going to assume that given nobody's asked any questions about what we've just done, that it's all pretty clear, and you know, I know that a bunch of you are familiar with the process of breaking these things anyway. So with that done and dusted, I'm going to call it a day or call it a night. Say thank you again to everybody who's participated and been part of the discussion and providing feedback and all that wonderful stuff. And by the looks of it, I mean, you guys are great. I haven't seen anyone in this stream for a long time even attempt to troll. Everyone gets on really well and is really nice to each other, and that's awesome. That's exactly what this is all about. So love you all very much. Thank you. And yeah, until next time, peace. Tea, chocolate tea, awesome, and rock climbing. Good night all, see you later.